Hey, hi guys, welcome back. All right, so let's get into a singles storyline. Happy Friday, by the way. I try to put these single storylines out on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday now that we're kind of back in a flow. Also, members look for the members poll that'll be posted probably in about 2 hours. I think it'll post for you guys to vote on next week's topics in the members corner. But we are starting out with the strength card. It is in the reverse. We may have a single Leo who's just feeling depleted, just utterly and completely depleted at the moment. The strength card being there in the reverse is definitely, some of that heavier energy of just, oh my gosh, maybe they're done with love for a little bit. They're done with soulmates for a little bit. They're like, I don't think I can handle any returning soulmates right now. Nor Ace, so good to see you, love. This just really looks like somebody's depleted on the whole topic of love. So although it's a single storyline, maybe they're like, look, I can do friends right now, but that's about it. And really, I need friends to support me right now, not take from me. We've got the 5 of Pentacles in the reverse. You know what's nice? Sometimes when we hit our wall, we hit that limit to how much we can give and how much disappointment we can handle. Sometimes that's when the universe says, baby, I see and I got you. I'm going to bring something good back for you. I'm going to bring you something good. I can see you're depleted. So now is the time that things come into your life to help lift you up. I don't know what the backstory is on this character, but definitely we have possibly a feminine, but this could be a masculine just as easy. But on that very first card out, we do have all feminine energy. We have these lionesses. And I definitely feel like this is a feminine who in their own mind and heart, like they can't really fake of like happy, buzzy energy flow right now because they're just too depleted at the moment. Maybe because of love, maybe because of life, maybe because of relationships. But it's like the universe is hearing that and saying, I got you. I know you've given a ton. I know you're depleted right now. I know you're kind of like pulled down, but we have good stuff coming in. We have soulmate energy, people that are I feel like our character is going to start having strange, like gifted energy that comes through, sweet little things. They could suddenly have this funny flurry of offers and presents and gifts that come in, like simple things, big things, offers of help. I'm picturing somebody who like opens up their front door and friend dropped off some little whatever, some little gift, some canister of home baked cookies, or sometimes it's just so cool when people surprise us, especially when we're at a point where we're just really depleted. But it says we could have friends popping by, we could have people that are just kind of part of like an interaction or a relationship like group, and that's adding joy into our character's life instead of draining her. She's not being asked to give anything, things are being given to her. Now, we definitely have this wonderful emotional offer from a King of Cups. I always look at this as like a microphone. And I don't know if we have a King of Cups who is like a singer or has a really nice voice. Maybe somebody writes a song for her. All I can say is that, again, on this whole like energy shift where finally she starts to receive instead of just simply give and be depleted, one of the things that is being given to her is emotional support that is, I think, really going to balance out. I think it's like exactly what she's needed. I don't know how this person shows up in her life or why, if they're being guided by some subconscious energy, if somebody is feeling, her need for support right now. Sometimes it's the frequency that we give off. I mean, I'm sure that it's, sorry, my nose is itching like crazy. I'm going to sneeze in a second if I don't itch it. Everybody has looked over at another person at some point and just seen they looked utterly exhausted. Maybe it's been a colleague, a coworker, maybe it's, somebody who's just been going through something tough, and you walk into work one day and you look over and you can just see they just look drained, and you're like, whoa, let me cover for you today. You need to go home and rest. Or, like we all know what that looks like sometimes. It's not that somebody looks bad. It's just that we can see they're like a little wilted flower. Everybody can see that sometimes. And I'm feeling like that's what like is visible on her like energy flow. It's like, I really have reached the end of how much I can give. And I think people that love her, care about her, are rallying around her. But there is some other person on her energetic wavelength here possibly a lover, possibly somebody who's been too shy to reach out and step up. But compassion is something that helps people override their nervousness or their shyness. Let's ask about whomever this King of Cups is, because this is someone who's like, they're either seeing her in her hour of need and they're like, I definitely want to go talk to her now. I definitely feel like I should go talk to her. We have a Six of Swords on their part. Hang on. They could be new to town. They could have just entered her life. Five of Pentacles. They too could have been through a situation where both of them share the Five of Pentacles energy. They've both known loss. They've both known like disruption. Maybe they've known upheaval. They've known what it feels like to, have to start their life over. We have the Judgment card. I really feel like she possibly had to start her whole life over after ending something. And I'm thinking that this King of Cups has done something similar. They know what it feels like, but it's also maybe they recognize that in her. So hang on, let's go back to her backstory a little. Hi, everybody. So nice to see you all. I'm wondering then, why is she so depleted? Can we see why we have that Strength card in the reverse right at the start for her? Yeah, Ten of Swords, Queen of Pentacles. She had a terrifically stressful ending. And I do think, if she comes across as possibly somebody who could be a Virgo, or like I said at the beginning, maybe Virgo, Leo, but she could be somebody who's done tremendous amounts of, acts of service for others, especially coming in as, a pentacle energy here. The Queen of Pentacles, no matter what earth sign that is, it can be somebody who's quite the giver. And I'm thinking that she gave a ton of herself only to get shafted. I'm feeling like she may have had multiple people who let her down, caused her stress. There could have been betrayals. All I can say is the Ten of Swords is a very painful ending for somebody who gave the best of themselves. And it's no wonder she's like, I'm just a little soul sick. I'm a little done giving to people who turn around and stab you with their hat pins. I'm done, being the person who no matter how much I gave, I still end up, being ostracized, or I still end up being somebody that isn't respected. Why am, sometimes a giver can wind up feeling like somebody's doormat. But this says a whole bunch of people didn't treat her very well. Him or her, I don't read for genders, but right now we do have a feminine on this card, so we'll stick with that. So her backstory is she has kind of been, after giving a ton to, I want to say like a group, but also like individuals as well. And I almost feel like for some bizarre reason, it kind of felt like the world turned against her. Like, and maybe everybody was selfish and decided, you know what, you've always been kind and giving. So you know what, when I'm in a bad mood, I'm going to heap all my problems on you. I need to lash out at somebody. And since you've always been nice and stable, let me lash out at you. And I'm wondering if she just caught hell from everybody around her for a little bit. Cause this just says she is like, I'm not going to say beat down. It's more like she has no more desire to even deal with people right now, even though here she is still a very giving person. And I'm thinking that let's go back over that King of Cups, they too know what it feels like to be like having to walk away from like everybody and everything, maybe feeling like the world is turned against you, feeling like you're out there on your own, feeling like you got to restart your whole life. I mean, literally, he could have relocated. By the way, he could be a she. We do have a feminine outline here, but it is a King's card. So as always, these could be same-sex couples that are possibly evolving in this, or, reverse gender roles, does not matter. But just as a side note, we do have two feminines actually showing up, even though one, we're going to keep saying him because it's a King card. But he seems to know all too well what it feels like to relocate, end something, be out there on your own, start your life over from scratch. But there's also some kind of like, it's almost like he says, yeah, but sometimes that is the divine path. Sometimes when everybody kind of like turns against you, or when everybody seems to like leave you high and dry, it can also be a gift, because you're free of them. The people that would have drained you, situations you should have left, but maybe we're being loyal to be helpful and kind to. Thank God some of those things end so that you can move on. Because with Stonehenge here, he's like, I have made peace with some things that happened to me in my own life, and why it feels like he's a bit of a loner, to be honest. But He's this loner who has this higher perspective that maybe this is like spiritually symbolic of, like the way, this was supposed to go. Like he's on a different, like kind of like mystic's path. He definitely has made peace with it, but it's so wild because I feel like he is recognizing in her, oh my God, that same thing happened to you, didn't it? You too. I can see that look in your face. I can see that fatigue on you. I can see you feel exactly the way I felt before, where it's like, I literally, one whole chapter of my life is closed and it closed ugly. None of the people around me are people that I can really count on. In fact, they turned out to be kind of villains, or they painted me as a villain. I don't know what the hell happened, but he's like, oh, I've been there, done that. And you notice the arms are wide open, like, come here, baby. Like, I got you. I know exactly what you're going through. Because this is this profound undercurrent of understanding. Somebody understands exactly what she's been through. But we also do have either a new soulmate group or old friends that show up seemingly out of the blue to replace whatever this like kind of betrayal and ending energy was that she went through. She is not really being left high and dry. What I honestly wonder is, was she dealing with a group of people that were not soulmates at all, but maybe a bunch of karmics or a bunch of people that, sometimes when everybody gets nasty and everything ends and we feel like, wow, I just had the rug pulled out from under me. All these people seem to be totally awful. And I don't feel like I have anybody in my corner at all. Sometimes it's like, darling, you need to get away from them. There are kinder people. There are some real true blues somewhere out there, and they're going to give space. You've created space for those true blues to come back in your life. Family account, you are so generous. Thank you so much, babe. You are so kind. Thank you, Angel. So generous. This feels like our character just, whatever happened here, although it is very painful, it also has, thankfully, kind of like maybe people took themselves out of her life, but thankfully she is free of some real, I'll say, negative energies that were, energy vampires. Her life is about to get a lot better, even though this feels like in that hour of darkness, in that moment where it feels like the whole world's against me. I don't even think I have any friends left. I don't think anybody likes me. This is the moment that actually she should look at it more like cleaning house. It may seem really forlorn and empty for just a moment or two, or a day or two, or a week or two, but then little things are going to start trickling in. She may have to be, attuned and aware of the good things that start trickling in, because sometimes the universe sends us sweet things that we can almost ignore. Sweet little gifts, sweet little, like this, as simple as like, oh, yummy. Those little kids across the street just put up their lemonade stand. I love lemonade. That was the best lemonade I've ever had. Well, that was a nice treat. Sometimes it's little tiny happy things that we can like savor and cherish. Those can be, it's hard sometimes to like look for the tiny gifts from the universe, but I think that there's going to be quite the culmination. Like I said, this is maybe old childhood friends reach out, maybe old contacts show up seemingly out of nowhere, and that could be very heart healing. And it could, I feel like it's been a long time since she had a good time, or since she laughed, or since she felt comfortable around people. That's what's coming for her. Real camaraderie, real friendships. Sometimes when the world lets us down, that's when we go back to some of our earliest friends. Like everybody has like some friend that they've had like since they were little kids. I know I always call her my first and oldest friend. And I'm still friends with her to this day. Yet we almost never talk. We're about once every 9 years, sometimes once every 3 to 4 years. And that is how we are as adults. And yet it's like no time has passed. Neither one of us is a super needy like friend, but if we ever call each other, we pick up on the first ring, and that's historically how we are with each other. But it's such a great friendship because it's like, if you ever need me, of course I'll be there. But in the meantime, we're very busy in life, but we always, we think about each other. And it's those kinds of friendships are amazing, but they don't always necessarily, like our oldest and most stable friendships, sometimes they're the ones that aren't really in our life on the day to day. They're the ones that we can count on anywhere in the universe and the solar system. Those are the people we can call. And they're the ones that we might not have everyday contact with or every year contact with. But I feel like that's maybe what's starting to come back into her life, or those are the contacts like the true blues that are going to start surfacing. It may be a smaller group, right? She went from 10 maybe down to 2 or 3, but that's going back to the core group. And now we're also centering in on one particular core, possibly relationship. I want to know how this king knows her or knows of her. You guys are so awesome. We have the King of Wands. He's carried a torch for her for a while. Okay. So are you one of the very, very old friends? Is she about to hear from somebody from long ago, far away? Somebody that was like, whatever. They had a crush on her in 6th grade or something. This is suddenly somebody reaches out. And I would say it's him reaching out to her. It could also be that she hears through the grapevine some old friend shows up, some group of friends are back in town, somebody, her brother's friend is in town for a visit, and it just feels like, look, they're all grown up now. If he's carried a torch maybe for a lot of years, I think finally that's the thing that's going to be talked about. But I also feel like it's keep picturing two people that see each other now, and it's like, wow, I can see life has taken you on journeys. I can see you have become more self-reliant. Maybe I'm picturing that he may have like a little bit more rugged features or something, a little bit more, I don't know, like both softer and more expressive while also being a little bit more hardened, if that makes sense. Somebody who has a sensitivity to them. Because you know what happens sometimes in life when we've gone through hell and back, it makes us one of two things: extremely bitter or extremely compassionate. Sometimes both rolled into one. Sometimes the people that seem the crustiest are also the ones that are like the most generous hearted. But I'm picturing he comes across as somebody that's really warm, somebody that's really emotionally, supportive, and yet he's got his own story, and it probably is going to show on his facial features or show, in some elements. Whomever this is, I don't think that this is a total stranger in her life. I feel like this is somebody coming in fairly vetted. I feel like this is somebody that maybe she's known, but not in a romantic sense. But they may have had a romantic interest in her from long ago. Long ago. Yale, absolutely, love. Stick around to the end, sweetie, and I'll get a couple cards for you. We've got the Two of Wands upright. That Two of Wands, it feels like they have lived apart for a very, very, very long time. This could be, again, such a serendipitous opportunity, such a serendipitous time for her in her darkest hour, having recently become extremely single and extremely exhausted from whatever she went through. And now all of a sudden, soulmates are popping up, and someone who's kind of held a torch for her from a great distance for, I'm thinking years. I'm thinking that this is somebody that she has known of or known about for years, but they have lived in very different places, parts of the world. They've lived apart. They haven't been, this is not an ex-lover. This is more like the person who happens to come back to town, and maybe they never would have looked at each other, or she never looked at them this way. Let me ask, is she going to look at them now in that kind of way? Because they are definitely on her path for a reason. All this feels so timely. 10 of Wands, I think they're actually going to be instrumental. Maybe the two of them are going to have a heart-to-heart conversation about, like, the pathways that we take in life, and, how draining it can be, but also what a freeing thing it is when you get beyond a really bad chapter, because this is laying down burdens. This is like two people that can kind of compare, war stories, wounds, and be like, oh, I went through something like that. Yeah, me too. This is so crazy, because I feel like as these two have conversation, as these two get reacquainted, I kind of think that there's going to be this real deep inner knowing. I mean, he already says, like, oh my God, I think it's exactly the right time. I can see she's been through hell and back, and I know all about that. And this is my opportunity to maybe approach her. Everything happens for a reason. He's got this, spiritual path, this belief in a spiritual path, even though he's been through tough stuff as well. But I just feel like these two are going to have some very interesting and cathartic conversations about what they've been through, where they've been, but almost like now being able to like laugh. I honestly feel like these two are going to end up realizing, I'm so glad that things didn't work out for me in other chapters of my life, because I wouldn't be sitting here across from you now. I think there's this deep inner knowing this is the person that they were meant to end up with. Winding roads have taken these two characters in different paths in life and all the way back into each other's worlds after all these different life lessons, after all of these, sometimes it turns out that the person who's right for us, we've actually encountered them a long time ago, but didn't know it. That's not who they were to us back then. This is one of those stories where it's not an ex. It's somebody that there was never a romance with, but somehow these two are like, maybe they've always been on a bit of the same frequency, but they had to go off in different directions, live different lives, and then like that figure eight come back together and meet eyeball to eyeball. I think there's a real awareness that these two operate on the same frequency, the same things that they care about, and especially in relationship. Like they share that thought process. They share the same desire. They've both been through hell. Neither one of them wants to go through that again. They both want something that would be really happy. I kind of think that these two are not out to drain anybody. They're not out to dump unhealed traumas on anybody. I feel like both of them are in this place where it's like, oh my God, I know a good thing when I see one, because I know what a crappy situation feels like by comparison. This is lovely, and it is such a gift. And I never mean to say like, oh, that's fine that these characters went through so much, hurt and pain, because that's just what had to happen so then they could get to the good stuff. I don't mean to sound like that, but I will say in this storyline, everything that they went through did lead them back right here to this moment where they're nose to nose, face to face, right where they're supposed to be. So I feel like, not to ever celebrate that they had to go through anything difficult and painful, but to say, I think it's all going to make sense. Why some things on their journey took them down the different roads that they did. Honestly, it's a huge breath of fresh air for these characters. Like, I'm so incredibly happy for these characters. All right, I am going to pull 3 cards for Yael Rubin right now. Yael, thank you again for all of your incredible generosity throughout all these years, sweetheart. All right, let me go ahead and we're going to change decks here. And here we go. Let's see. We got 4 instead. We have got a 5 of Swords. We've got an Ace of Pentacles. We've got the Queen of Cups. And we've got the King of Swords in the reverse. This does speak of kind of like a conflict that is not rattling this queen, as we can see. So first off, let's look at how different these cards are. Even the color tones are completely wrong, meaning we have 2 different things happening. These 3, it's all kind of like browns and tans. And this is all shades of blue. Blue represents more wisdom, right? These cards have a lot of reversals, a lot of hostility, a lot of never-ending cycles of arguing, cycles that never end. We're still not over it. People are hostile. A King of Swords is pissy. These 2, possibly feminines, are pissy. And yet it doesn't even touch this Queen of Cups. So to me, because it's so distinctive, both in color, both in the energy flows here, the fact that one person can be this incredibly calm energy says she may be the mediator. And remember where she was in all this, right? She was way over here. So we've got all this, never-ending drama. And then she's like a buffer zone, even though somebody else is pissed. This could be like, I'm picturing a scenario where there's angry customers, and then there's the boss is angry, and then this is the, the manager or employee who is like, okay, so I know you're upset that the customers are angry, the customers are demanding too much. I understand, but I'm going to try to smooth out everything for everybody. Angry boss, angry customers, but you know what? All we really need to do is get solutions, right? And I just feel like whoever is playing this role is incredibly good at filtering out and mediating. Heck, this could be a translator who's like, I'm going to hear what one group is saying, but when I translate it, I'll translate it in a very respectful manner, even if that's not what they said, because the other person that I have to translate for, they're going to be pissed when they hear what they said. And likewise, when they say something very undiplomatic back, I'm going to translate it, but I'm going to find a more diplomatic way to say it. I just keep feeling like we have this amazing mediation energy in the midst of all of this. And this person is freaking worth gold, their weight in gold. But I also like the fact that they are not actually impacted. It's not even like this character is going to go home exhausted. They know the difference between like an SAP, somebody else's problem versus their issue. This is why our character is going to be really able to see both sides of things and truly be a mediator, because they got now skin in the game. They're not mad at anybody. They don't feel attacked. They shouldn't either. They're not the person who is, this is just the messenger, or this is just the mediator or the translator. And I feel like that ability to see things, and maybe this is more like in a broad sense, we have a character who can see both sides of a situation, in life. And they are able to maintain their own like loving nature. They're reasonable, rational, and wise. It's almost like somebody's becoming more zen the more they see angry and upset and, rage baiting and all of that. The more they are like, boy, that just doesn't even work on me. And this is more like an observation. What makes me different? Why do I tick differently than people that are, looking for the kerfuffle, wanting to get into, the smash down, I don't look for gossip. I don't look for drama. I don't look for arguing. That's just not who I am. And I think that alone is like a remarkable thing for a character to recognize about themselves, that they operate so differently. I would say this is like a very powerful influence. I could say that her influence, hers, doesn't matter, but this person's influence that is more soothing and more enlightened could have a very positive impact, because they are the calm in the middle of a storm. And this just reminds us, don't ever underestimate how important, like I said, think of a translator that is translating one person's words, but saying it with more diplomacy and perhaps, more grace and more respect. And think of how much better a conversation could go. Or a secretary who filters out what somebody actually said so that it'll be much more palatable to the other person's ears, who has to be the other side of the negotiation. It just says this is a tremendous skill, but it's also only possible because our character is such a high vibrational individual. So very beautiful, very beautiful. I love this character and I want more of this character. I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you guys so much. Gail, you were so awesome. Thank you, baby. Contented Tiger, you are also now a member thanks to Yael Rubin's incredible generosity. Thank you, Yael. That is beyond kind. And thank you, Yael. Yael just reminded me that there is something new here on YouTube. It's the hype button. I don't know how you guys see it, to be completely honest, but there is like the way YouTube does this, like family accounts is you have the most, they're called the XP points, that I think it stands for like experience points. And so like family account, you have the greatest number of hype points. And then Yael, of course, you were in the second place, and then Noor A, you were in the third place. So I think you guys see these like numbers and sometimes the little crowns next to your names, and that is representing I guess I could say that the potential for the support of my content, my channel, this particular video at this particular moment in time. Now, I don't know exactly what you do with those points. I know it's just like a free system, but I don't know if you click on something to say yay. I don't really understand how it works, to be honest, but I do know that. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. I know it's like when you guys are commenting, the super chats, things like that, all of that like increases all of this support for a video. I don't know if there's anything else that you have to do to support it. If there's like a click beyond that, or if how it looks on your guys' end. But I can only say from my side of things, thank you guys so much. I'm so incredibly honored. And Yael, thank you for pointing that out. That's a new thing that I'm still not sure how it all works. But family accounts. Okay, so it pushes the algorithm so more people are reached. That is something my channel desperately needs. In all these years, the algorithm does not favor me. I don't understand why. It's always been an immense struggle for my videos to ever get circulated, and it seems harder now than it ever has been. So thank you guys so much for caring about that. I cannot tell you how grateful I am. You guys are so amazing, and the space that you guys have created here, the community is so kind. You guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are so awesome. Kelsey, thanks, love. Gail, Courtney Walsh, good to see everybody. Thank you again, Yale. Pocket full of sunshine. You're so sweet. Thank you. Travis Rhodes, Becky O, Sissy, G, Monique, Tammy, Minari. I hear you, Minari. Yeah, me too. So Shrita, thank you for being here, love. Daniel, Yale Williams, I hear you. Vertical Rising, craving lemonade now. Karen Bishop, thank you again so much, family account. That is so generous of you. And thank you again, Yale. Annette Summersby, hi. Hi, Lalu. Natalie, hi. And welcome again, Contented Tiger. Tina, Nor A, thank you, everybody. Tina's looking forward to cookies. Thank you, guys. I'll see you again in the next one. Bye for right now.